Hello and good evening, if anybody is there, and if not, I can just rattle away. But I'll give it a few minutes before I start finishing the story that abruptly ended prematurely on Sunday. Just trying to sort out my live chat because I don't know if it's on live or top. So if anybody's listening, just ignore me for a second because this chat is being a pain in the bum. Hi, Danny. Hiya, love. How are you? Hopefully this won't interrupt with your work too much. It won't be a very long one. I'm gonna... Hi, Kathy. How are you, honey? It's not going to be a mega long one. I'm going to finish off telling the story of Boudica. I'll do a little recap from where we left off on Sunday. And I'm going to save the mystery of the Ninth Legion just until another day because I'm absolutely shattered. But I'll give you all an update on what's been happening for the last 3 days before I start. But I'll wait for a few more people to come in. But I hope everybody's well and nobody's been affected by, what was it, Storm Malik and Storm Corrie over here in the UK. They've been quite bad, especially in certain areas as well. One area which I kind of more or less was in. So I know that there's some people watching and not in chat, so I'll just explain. I'll explain in a second what happened on Sunday. For those of you who were in the chat and those of you who weren't. I had received a text message from my youngest brother just as I was getting to the juicy bit about the battle with Boudica and Suetonius. And hi, Mrs. Mercury. Oh, thank you, love. Thank you. And I was just going to do a big thank you to everybody for being so patient with me on Sunday night. But yeah, I thought I'll just fill you guys in because I have had some, I've had some WhatsApp messages and some text messages from different people. And I hadn't. Hi, Green Eyes. Hello, love. I hadn't taken my charger with me, so I was trying to hang on to the little bit of phone charge that I had left. Although I did manage to get a charge just before I came home, which I'll explain in a second. So basically what had happened on Sunday was that my dad had actually had a heart attack. And for those of you that heard me, I don't know, my brain just liquefied. So instead of me saying what I should have done, which was, hi, everybody, really sorry about this. I'm going to have to close the live down. I'll catch you all soon. Bye. My mouth kept going blah, 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 blah. Because my brain hadn't quite caught up. I think I was just in a bit of shock. So, yes. And yeah, Green Eyes. Well, when he starts to swear, at people, you know that is on the up and up. So hi Frida, hiya love. Um, so yeah, when I closed the live down on Sunday, I then literally within seconds of that closing down, my phone rang and it was Porky, and I was still talking absolute gaff. So luckily for me, he was very level-headed and he said, "You need to do this, 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 and this, and I shall do this, this, and this." So, which I needed really because I just couldn't get my brain in gear at all. So massive thank you. And he ended up looking after Cooper for me. I got a flight up to Inverness on Monday. I flew up with one of my brothers. My other brother's up there with my dad, and he's still there actually. So the elder of my two brothers and I, we flew up and got to see my dad. So yeah, all good, all good. He's not on the critical list. Hi, Tiz. I'm okay. I'm just a bit knackered, mate, but I'm going to finish this Boudica live off because I'm not going to be covering the mystery of the ninth disappearing tonight because I'm just too tired. But I owe you a finish and a completion to Boudica, so I thought I'll do that, give everyone an update on what happened with me because I know not everybody knew what was going on, and have a little bit of a chit chat, and then I'll schedule in the missing Ninth Legion for another evening if everyone's okay with that. So yeah, so it's just been a hectic 3 days really. Hi Sam. Hi Marie. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. You lot are, oh, and Frida as well. You're all so kind. Thank you. Yeah, so it was a bit hectic. So it was a mad dash. My brother sorted flights out for himself and I, and we got a flight up to Inverness. And this is really weird, right? We flew with Loganair. So Loganair, for anybody who doesn't know, it's the Scottish airline. Been going for it's about 50, 60 years now. And you never see advertisements ever for Loganair. Now, whether it was because I obviously was on one of their flights, but today on my phone, I've started getting Loganair advertisements. How weird is that? Big Brother is watching. So yeah, just a couple of quite funny things. So my brothers, because we went and we managed to just kind of wave to my dad through one of the windows on Monday, and then we went back to his house. So my brothers decided to raid his whiskey collection. They got absolutely slaughtered on Monday night, and I think some of that was stress as well. You know, when you've had a bit of stress and you suddenly relax. So yeah, they got absolutely wasted. Murderous. And then I am now at home. I went to Porky's, and I brought Cooper back this afternoon. I think it was this afternoon. He's not Denny. He was actually on leave. Him and my dad were planning on going doing fishing. My dad's got he's got a boat on Lochmorrow, and he's also got a seafaring vessel. So they were planning on going doing some sea fishing and whatnot. So that's how he happened to be up there. And he's absolutely useless because apparently when my dad was kind of showing all signs of having a heart attack, Pete's going, "I'd be right, go and have a lie down." Absolutely useless. Anyone see Armchair and Lana last night in Patreon Comedy Gold, guys? I haven't. I'll be honest, Sam. I don't watch any of it anymore. I mean, feel free to let everybody know what happened. Who? Lana, is she the one who wore the baseball cap, or am I thinking of somebody else? The blonde one with the baseball cap. Yeah, Tiz. Although my other brother and I, we were winding him up a bit, going, "You gave him a heart attack. It's you being stressful." Ah, right, okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if that was the same person or not. Yeah, I mean, like I said, feel free. You can tell us. You can tell us what happened if you like, but I've not watched it. I mean, I wasn't around anyway. I wasn't online. I haven't been online since Sunday. Don't it? Nah, I can't stand that Lana. Sam irritates the fuck out of me. I couldn't watch them. I waited for Mike. They just upset me. Oh, those two, Marie. Oh, the shady souls. They are shady souls. So, what was actually quite funny, those with dog, because you all know how naughty Cooper is. Well, he really behaves himself for Porky. I'll probably end up telling his story because he'd no doubt want to tell the full version himself, because I only got it secondhand. But apparently, when I asked, was somebody, how's the dog? I rang him. I think it was just before. I can't remember. It was either just before I got on the plane or when we landed. It might have been when we landed. And I said, how's the dog doing? And he just started laughing. And apparently he'd lifted a loaf of bread out of the freezer to defrost and put it up on the side, totally forgetting that my dog likes to counter surf. And he came down to an empty loaf wrapper. The dog had eaten the whole loaf. So, yeah. And then I got a text off him, I think it was yesterday afternoon, just to say that I'd be pleased to hear that the loaf had exited, shall we say. But I think he was fibbing, because I've just had him out now and he's done 3 of the mahoosivest poos ever. And I mean mahoosive poos. So I think some of this loaf is still exiting stage left. And he also went minesweeping in his office, and I think, I forget what he said. It was either a baked potato or a roast potato. But anyway, he helped himself to that as well. So, the little tinker. He is lovely, Marie, but he's just a thief. He's an absolute thief. I got him from, oh, well, Kathy will know this place, obviously, but I got him from Birkenhead, which is on the Wirral. And the house he came from, there were 10 of them, 10 puppies. And I don't think the woman had a clue. So she was putting one bowl with puppy food down in it, and all 10 were fighting over it. Well, this one, he wasn't at the top of the pecking order. He wasn't at the bottom, but he was somewhere in the middle. So I think it became hardwired in him that he was always going to be hungry, so never miss an opportunity to eat. And eat he has done ever since. So you can't leave anything alone. I'll just read what Sam says to you all before I get onto the rest of my little update, and then Boudica. He was saying that it was an insurance hobby masterminded by NK. Rest of his stupid theories. Lana made him look beyond stupid and ripped his theory to shreds. AD then said, I have to go now, game over. He's such a knob. Oh, Denny. Ooh. Oh, he's just letting you know he's listening. I know, Marie, so we can't really get cross with him. And And like poor kid said, I didn't tell him off because I didn't see when he'd done it. I mean, if you catch him doing it and you give him a bollocking, but he is getting much better, because if you put his food down on the floor, like normally he darts straight into it, he's actually looking up now at Porky, and he waits, and he'll even stand with his nose virtually in the bowl until he says he can have it. He won't go near it. So, and we've only been doing this for well, we started back on the hard training for it within the last 2 months, I think. I think it was the end of November, end of November, got the dog trainer back because he was causing real problems, this little bugger. And he's also managing, he is giving him all his commands silently now as well. So there aren't any verbal commands, they're like with fingers and clicks, which is really good. Let's have a look. Sorry, Sam, if Lana is your mate. I don't know her. I'm so over the what's case and all associated discussions. Sam, Lana, not my mate. No. So yeah. And apparently somebody let the dog up on the bed for bro cuddles. But that's okay because he's currently on the sofa with me having mummy cuddles because I missed him. And the other thing is as well, I've since found out this was a lie though. My dad has a hot tub, and so late on Monday night, because my brothers were both pissed, I thought, do you know what? I'm going to get in the hot tub just to have a little relax and try and, try and de-stress. And I went to get a towel and whatnot, and I was going to lock the door because it's in a separate part of the house, just because I didn't have a cosy with me. So I thought, oh, do you know what? I'll just have, I can go in there naked. Nobody's going to see me, but I'll just let the lads know that. When I said, I'm going to go and get in the hot tub, Peter went, oh, won't bother. He said, I got in it last night. I pissed in it. Right. So I was going mad. Like, I can't believe you. You better get that drained out before my dad gets out of hospital. I can't believe you, dirty bugger. I was really giving him some. But I got a text because I spoke to him before by text just to see how dad's doing. And he said, you do realise I didn't actually pee in the hot tub, don't you? So he did me out of a float. And then obviously, because both my brothers are giants, they think it's rather funny to slap me on the top of the head several times, going, all right, midget. Asking me as well if, how tall is pork chop and has he rested his pint on my head yet? Things like that. He did have a ball, Marie. He's been spoiled, but he had a sad face on coming home in the car because he's had man time and now he's back home with me. So he's not impressed. So yeah. So as far as everything's going now, hiya Simples, how are you, lovey? So yeah, Dad is improving. He's all right. He's going to be in hospital for a little bit though, obviously, because he's had a heart attack. This is the second heart attack he's had, and the last time he also had a DVT. Sorry, deep vein thrombosis for anybody who may not know. So yeah, I think that's why we were all quite concerned. Yeah, Simples. Yeah, you probably weren't here. I had to close the live down on Sunday. My dad had a heart attack, so I've been up. I've been up the nice side of the border. We got a flight up on Monday. Me and one of my brothers. So yeah, and I think the one thing to take away from it is that it's one of those things you sometimes forget to do, isn't it? You're speaking to a relative or what have you, and it's very easy to go, oh, okay, look after yourself, take care, and missing out telling them that you love them. So yeah, I think it's just reminded me, Yeah, tell the people that you love them, because you never know. And that's what poor kid said to me, you know, when I was flapping around on Sunday night, not being able to think straight, and he just said, "You need to get up there, forget everything else, see your dad, speak to him, do what you need to do, because if you don't and something happens, you will never forgive yourself." And I needed somebody being very strong like that. So, and I don't waste opportunities to tell people that I love them. I always do, always have done. Um, you know, and I might say to, you know, to some of you guys, I know I'm not going to name who it was, but somebody had sent me a message, and, you know, I was saying, "Oh, do you know what, Bird? I love you." And I mean that. I'm not just saying it for saying its sake. That's right, Marie. Never ever go to bed angry. Never go to bed on an argument. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's like taking chances and doing things, you know, you might think, well, should I or shouldn't I? What's the point of faffing around? We could possibly not be here tomorrow. It's made me think very hard about certain things, so a lot of things really. But you know, that's one good thing to come away from it. So yeah. So as much as I keep saying it, I have got that wonderful guy to thank for getting my head in gear, because I don't think I would have done anything on Sunday. I'd have just sat here flapping my gums and not knowing what to do. So right, so now that that's over with, are you ready for a bit of Boudica? Because we got as far as just before the start of the battle with Suetonius, didn't we? Now, would anybody like a little short, well, a short recap, or anybody who wasn't here? Because I'm really sorry. Usually I'm quite good at remembering who was in chat, but because of my head being up my backside, since I did the live, I actually can't remember everybody. So if anybody wants me to do, yeah, okay, Green Eyes, no problem, love. So, yep, no worries. No worries. We shall get in there. So, very briefly, the lead up to this rebellion was Boudica's husband died. He bequeathed half of his lands to Rome and the other half to his daughters to be kept in safekeeping, basically, by Boudica. Nero, who was the emperor at the time, decided to seize everything for himself. Boudica objected quite strongly, and for doing that, she was publicly stripped and flogged, and her two young daughters were graped, shall we say. I just realised I hadn't given a trigger warning. Sorry, guys. They were gang raped by Roman soldiers as punishment, and that was quite a common punishment for the Romans. So that happened. Instead of Boudica turning into a shrinking violet, she decided to fight back, and fight back she did. So she annihilated the garrison that was on Iceni lands, because she was queen of the Iceni. She then moved on to Colchester, which was called Camulodunum or Camulodunum, and annihilated that city. In the process, as she was leaving, she was confronted, or rather, she ambushed the 9th Legion, which is the one we're going to talk about on a live in a couple of days' time, about the mystery of the missing 9th Legion. And she more or less wiped them out, apart from the cavalry. She then sacked London and St Albans. The remaining cavalry of the 9th Legion booted it in the direction of Anglesey to try and catch up with the General Suetonius. to let him know, because there were no other legions available to try and defend the citizens of London and St Albans and anywhere else that Boudica decided to hit. So Suetonius was at minimum a 12-day march away, right up in Anglesey, which is the northwest little island off the northwest corner of Wales. So back he decided to come. At the time, oh, sorry, bear with me a second. I'll just go to Frida's. One thing I was thinking about is I wonder why the Romans didn't just kill Boudica. I bet they wish they had. Yeah, probably. However, again, I suppose it was a case of weighing up options, because if they had killed her, because don't forget when we were talking the other day about the percentages of what the population was in England at the time. So it was round about the 3 million mark, wasn't it? Of which there were about 100,000 Romans. They were vastly outnumbered. To kill, stroke, murder a queen, no matter how much of a savage they may have deemed her to be, they probably didn't want to risk such an uprising. Don't forget that the Romans valued, although they were quite liberal and quite libertine in their the way that they lived, don't forget that they did look on women as, especially the wives, the daughters, chastity, and the matronly figures. The worst thing that could happen would be their wives or their daughters to be violated. So what better way to teach this uppity Iceni queen a lesson than by publicly humiliating her and her daughters? I mean, that's shame in itself, isn't it? She's stripped naked in front of her countrymen and women, and flogged, and then her daughters are gang raped by lines of soldiers. They probably thought that was a fate worse than death, which is what it used to be called, didn't it? Do you remember when we did the sayings a few weeks ago? And that's where that saying came from, a fate worse than death. So yeah, so that's possibly why that was decided on, but it backfired on them spectacularly, did it not? So is this speed of this recap okay for everybody? I don't want to go too fast. I'm just trying to cram it all in as quickly as I can. So at the time, Suetonius had, I know we were throwing a few figures around about how many troops we thought that he may have managed to amass, but he began to do a forced march back towards, in the direction of London. And we were saying, even if he was marching with what remained of the 2 legions he'd originally gone with, plus the cavalry, or what remained of the cavalry of the 9th Legion, plus gathering, stragglers from garrisons and forts along the way, could have been quite generous to say maybe you got 20,000, maybe you got 30, but actually one of the figures that has been provided is that he did only have around about 10,000 men. And if you guys remember, at this point, following the sacking of Colchester and London, the Boudican army had now, it was somewhere in the region, it was anywhere between 100,000 and 200,000. It was massive, massive fighting force. So as I remember, just before I got my text on Sunday, where we'd got up to was the fact that she was constantly moving. She went from battle to battle. They didn't stay in one place, to either recover from battles or to, just to rest up. And one of the reasons for this, which I was saying, my theory, it's not just my theory, other people have said this as well, but I go with it, is the fact that having a battle force of up to 200,000 warriors, and animals and maybe supply wagons and what have you, it would have just caused a nightmare, logistically, an absolute nightmare. So she had no other option but to keep moving, keep moving on. So, and what had also happened was, because it wasn't uncommon when the Celts went into battle, especially if they were pretty confident of a victory, would be to take their wives and the families, and they would all follow along in a bit of a wagon train to watch the battle, be there to help collect any spoils of war, because it was a big thing to go and take the weapons from the fallen. But they were there basically as spectators, cheer the home team on. So not only have you got all these warriors, you've got all the families as well. Because like I mentioned the other day, that summer the Iceni didn't bother to sow any crops at all. They did nothing other than fashion weapons. Now, although they did that, one thing I didn't mention was that the Iceni, they were quite, they didn't have a lot of weaponry, shall we say. It wasn't they weren't, although they were very wealthy, they weren't as well supplied as you would expect, because, as I said, they'd also had a bit of an uprising, revolt, 12 years previously, and as a result of that, the Romans had disarmed the Iceni. So they didn't have massive supplies of spare weaponry. Everything they had, or the majority of stuff that they had, was being fashioned in a quick hurry. So they weren't well supplied, shall we say. Now, even though they've got potentially even if we'll go with the bottom figure, 100,000. They've got 100,000 warriors, but they haven't got the best of weapons with them. They're quite poorly supplied. Face those with 10,000 organised, disciplined, armoured, and well supplied Roman soldiers who, as we've said before, at that time were considered the best fighting force in the world. So we get to what is known as the Battle of Watling Street. Now, Suetonius, while he's doing this forced march back from Anglesey, he knows no matter how many troops he manages or may manage to get to stick to his core legions, he is going to be massively outnumbered, potentially 10-1, maybe even 20-1. He's just not sure, but he knows that this is a massive force. And I mean, he got a shock when they did finally see each other across the battlefield, because the Romans had never seen a fighting force of this size before. They just hadn't. So they weren't expecting it. So he knows, one, he's going to be massively outnumbered. He also knows that potentially, because at this stage, he doesn't know what weaponry the Celts have got. So he's thinking, right, possibly they may outdo us as far as weapons go. They're definitely going to outnumber us. He's going to have an absolute nightmare unless he can work with what he's got and what he can get together. And by that, we're talking I'm not just talking about, troops and supplies. He needs to pick his battlefield, because if he can get to pick it, then he'll have an advantage, because don't forget, this guy is a seasoned warrior. Now, they end up picking a location along what was called Watling Street, which is the old Roman road. they we still don't know exactly whereabouts this was. So just that, it's somewhere along the lines of the old Watling Street. Now, Suetonius decided on, it was a narrow gorge-like field that he decided on. There was a forest behind him, which would stop him being attacked from the rear, and it opened out into quite a large plain. So because it was gorge-like as well, it also protected their flanks from being attacked. Now, this, for starters, would have protected Boudica, from bringing considerable numbers of her warriors down to bear on the Roman position. And because he'd picked this wide open plain in front of him, which is the direction that the Iceni and the other tribes were going to come at him from, it prevented any form of an ambush. Because don't forget, he knows what's happened to the 9th Legion. The 9th Legion, the famous 9th Legion, and they were ambushed by Boudica and her forces, and they were just wiped out. And they did that with 2,000. At that time, it was the 9th Legion was a full legion. So it was the men on foot and the cavalry. They outnumbered the Iceni, and the Iceni absolutely annihilated them. So Suetonius is under no illusions that, this is a formidable fighting force that he's up against. He's not going to put himself in that position. Now, before the battle, Suetonius decided to get his legionaries into quite... Oh, thank you, Frida. Thank you. He got them in quite tight order. So he had his auxiliary infantry on the flanks, and he had his cavalry out on the wings. And again, this included the cavalry of the 9th. Right. So when the Celts arrived, so they're coming in at the other end of this gorge-like field, they're amassing across this plain, but then behind them are all the carts. So these are the carts carrying all the supplies. It's got all the wives, the grandparents, the children. It's all the supply animals, and they kind of create a bit of a semicircular. They mass in a bit of a semicircular shape at the very far end of this gorge, so the entrance, if you will. But in effect, that's creating a blocked off area. So, and they're quite tightly packed. Now, they didn't think about this because they were so convinced after their previous victories, the Celts, it probably didn't cross their mind that, we may have to retreat at any point. They can see they are overwhelming the Roman troops just in sheer numbers. That they're not thinking for a second that they're going to lose. So why do we need to think about a way to retreat? We'll just waddle on over there when we've finished wiping these buggers out. Now, as I said before, because they were a massive force, but they were also very poorly equipped. As I mentioned, they'd been disarmed, years before this rebellion had carried on. Now, Boudica decided to then lead her army forward across the plain, and they went into this narrowing field in a field. It was a massive frontal attack. Now, as they started to advance, because of the way that this field narrowed going towards the Romans, they started to get channeled into quite a tightly packed mass of warriors. There's not a great deal of elbow room. If you think about how many thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them there were, and they're all wanting a bit, So just before the Britons got close enough to engage in hand-to-hand combat with the Romans started to throw their, they were called a pila. It was their javelin. And what this had the effect of was, not only was it, killing some if it hit them in the right spot, but these javelins, they were sticking in the shields of the Britons. And because it was so sharp, and don't forget these aren't metal shields that the Britons are carrying. Some of them are kind of woven grasses, some are wood, but they're not to the same standard, if you will, that the Roman shields are. So these pila are going straight through the shields. As the warriors are running forward, and they've got these the long end of the spears, the javelins, sticking out of the shields, it's because of the weight they're hitting the floor. So it's then forcing the point of the javelin further through the shield, and they're actually tripping the warriors up as they're trying to run forward, just because of the weight and the momentum and what have you. So what do? They have to discard the shields, because they've not got the time to stand there trying to hoik these javelins out. It's just basically, oh, bollocks to this, chuck it to one side. And then that means that they are exposed. They've got nothing to protect themselves with, because they're not fighting in tight closed ranks like the Romans are. It's a bit of a melee, it's willy-nilly, every man for himself. Just keep going, make sure you you hit the Romans with the pointy end of whatever it is you're swinging around, and don't hit any of your fellow native Britons by mistake. And that was kind of their that was just their strategy. It wasn't really anything more than that. Now, once the Romans had run out of these pila to throw, they then rushed out and they started marching forward, tightly packed wedge-like column. So they made this wedge formation. Because the Romans, they had a very clear advantage with the weapons and the armor and the discipline. And this had a real advantage in close quarters fighting against the Britons, who were really tightly packed together. Don't forget, there's thousands upon thousands of them that have been channeled down into this wedge shape off the plain, going into this gorge. And then the Roman cavalry entered the battle, and they had their lances ready. Now, as the Britons, their losses, they were increasing. The dead were just hindering them underfoot. They tried to retreat. And as I mentioned before, what was blocking them was the semicircular spectator area, which is all the wagons and the families and the supply animals and everything else. And this is then where, oh, sorry, I knew there was something else that I forgot as well. As they were advancing, that I'm murder for this, I do apologise. As the Romans were advancing, what Suetonius was constantly rotating the front line. So, getting the front line to fall back and be replaced by the second line. And this was so that the front line for their attack were actually fresh, which the Britons weren't doing. It was just like every man for himself, slashing and hacking and doing as best as you could. Now, the Roman cavalry at this point, when I've said, they started to enter the battle. Now, what they did was they circled to the end. They came around. Oh, sorry, bear with me a second. Poor horses in what? I know, Frida. I know it just, yeah, it doesn't bear thinking about, because you see some. Oh, hi, Joe. Hello, lovely to see you. You see some of the fighting techniques when some of the things that I've done with history. and some of the fighting techniques. And occasionally you'd have two men would go at a cavalry, and not just, not just the Romans. This is, into more recent times as well. If you had foot soldiers and there was somebody, a cavalry charge was coming at you, occasionally it'd be two men against one man and a horse, one man on the floor to basically drive his spear or his sword into the neck of the horse, while the other man would approach from the side, and as the horse stumbled, he would then drag the soldier off the horse's back, and the two of them would then, kill him. So it's awful. It really is. I hate to think about animals getting hurt, but it's happened right through, hasn't it? Virtually in every war. Second World War, First World War. So the cavalry, in they go, and they circle around I know, Frida, it's just so sad. They circle around the Celts who are now falling and dropping. They circle around them and they head towards this semicircle of wagons at the back of the field, and they start cutting down everybody. If there are any warriors that have managed to get that far, they are cut down. If they come across women, if they come across children, anybody. Now, some of the Celtic warriors were managing to escape, because obviously there are a few little gaps, in between the wagons, in between the animals. So some did manage to escape, but in order to close these gaps off, then the Roman cavalry started to slaughter the pack animals as well. So if it were cattle, if it was horses that were drawing these huge carts, they were just getting hacked to pieces to try and close these gaps. The Celts had nowhere to go, and they are piling up and piling up and piling up. Now, this went on until there was nobody else left to kill. Some had managed to get away, some had surrendered, some were taken prisoner, but those who were fleeing and their families, they were just slaughtered. Now, this is quite significant because the figures recorded for that day say that there were 80,000 Britons lost their lives in the Battle of Watling Street. And would anybody like to guess how many Romans lost their lives? So if we're thinking we had a Celtic fighting force of between 100 and 200,000, and we went for the bottom estimate, didn't we? So we said around about 100,000, and of that they lost 80. The Romans were fighting with 10,000 men approximately. Would anybody like to hazard a guess as to how many of that 10,000 you think they lost? And I shall wait for a couple of minutes to see if anybody comes in with one. I should do the countdown tune, shouldn't I? Do 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 do. Oh, thank you, Joe. That was taken on Monday at my dad's. I was pulling my tongue out at my youngest brother. Sorry, no, it wasn't Monday. It was yesterday. God, I'm losing track of the days. Right. Frida reckons 9,000. Kathy reckons 2. Simple says no idea. I will tell you, and you will probably be very, very shocked. The Romans lost only 400 men. Joe, 3,000. Yeah, 400. Out of their force of 10,000, they lost only 400. Out of 100,000, the Britons lost 80,000. And it just shows that, the way that Suetonius chose the field of battle, and he chose it incredibly well. And just the discipline and discipline of his own soldiers and his experience as a general. Just unbelievable. I was really shocked when I heard that figure. Really shocked. Now, Boudica. Now, I was like, oh, lost. Oops, I'm not paying attention. Lost 400 is amazing. It is absolutely amazing, Joe. It's yeah. That one figure got it quite surprised me. So, Boudica. Now, we've got to be. This is what was written. They did have better tactics, Frida. You know, the tactics, and they had a better general. I mean, Suetonius was using his brain. I'm not saying Boudica wasn't, but she just wanted revenge. In fact, the Britons as a whole just wanted revenge. You know, they'd been under Roman rule and the foot of Rome, basically, or the heel of Rome, for so long. They'd all suffered because of it. If they'd not just suffered, you know, with relatives, family, friends being murdered by the Romans or being taken into slavery or having the land stolen, the wealth stolen, even down to the food that they ate being stolen. They didn't care. They just wanted them gone in whatever way they could, you know, they could manage. So yeah, they didn't really go into it level-headedly, whereas Suetonius did. But, you know, he wasn't fighting for his land. It wasn't, it didn't mean as much to him as it did to the Britons. They were just, you know, they wanted revenge and righteous anger, I suppose, where they were fighting with. Now, we've only got the word of the two Roman historians for this, because Boudica's body was never found. She wasn't found on the field of battle. And we all know from the way that she was described by Tacitus, they all knew exactly what she looked like. And they'd all seen her in a war chariot. You know, the Romans, all the forces had seen her. They knew exactly what she looked like. So if she'd have been dead on the field of battle, her body would have been paraded, and it never was. Now, whether this was wishful thinking, whether this was to kill the legend of Boudica, which, you know, has been done before by writers, hasn't it? You know, don't forget we had the artistic license of Shakespeare regarding Richard III. You know, propaganda at its best. So this could also be a bit of propaganda. You know, we don't know where she is, just to try and stop her from raising any more troops. Let's put this story out about her death. So we don't know. Tacitus claims that she poisoned herself and she poisoned her daughters. Cassius Dio said that she fell ill, you know, from her battle wounds, and was given a lavish burial. But we don't know. We don't know. All that I will say is that to me, it looks as though Boudica escaped, because she had taken her daughters with her to this battle. The daughters weren't found either. So she escaped, and she escaped with both her daughters. Now, did she poison herself? Possibly. You know, she knew what happens to defeated peoples. Her own people, the Iceni, 12 years prior to this revolt, they had suffered for daring to stand up to Rome. There was also the king, the year before this, King Caradoc. He had also stood up to Rome, and when he was caught, he was then paraded before being put to death. Vercingetorix, it happened to him. So she knew exactly what would happen if she was caught and what would happen to her daughters. You know, defeated rebels are not tolerated by the Roman Empire. So the legend, started by Tacitus, very probably, is that she poisoned her daughters first, and then she poisoned herself because she did not want her daughters to suffer the fate that she knew was coming for them. Now, after this, there was never again an uprising like this on this scale or with this much vehemence, shall we say, until the Romans actually left the British Isles in 410 AD. So don't forget, this is going back to 61 AD. We've never found out, as I said, they don't know exactly where the site of the Battle of Watling Street was. There's quite a wide variety of sites that would be consistent with an army attacking from the area of London, more or less looking in the direction of Cornwall and Wales. There's one legend who has it taking place at a place called Battlebridge Road, which is King's Cross in London. But Tacitus, in his writings, it seemed unlikely that Suetonius would return to the city or had returned to the city. It's more likely that they met on the road somewhere in the middle between London and Anglesey. There are a few potential location sites in the Midlands, probably somewhere along the Roman road between London and Wroxeter, which is now the A5. Hi, Porky. Hi, honey. So a few of the sites, and I don't know if people are living in these areas, but you may be able to cast a bit of light on it if you've heard any legends. So a few of the possible suggestions for these battle sites are a place called Manchester, which is in Warwickshire. It's near Atherstone in Warwickshire. There is a site close to High Cross in Leicestershire. There is an area east of Rugby in Warwickshire. A place called Cuttle Mill near Paulsbury, which is southeast of Towcester in Northamptonshire. There's Arbury Banks, which is in Hertfordshire. There's Churchstowe in Northamptonshire. There's the Kennet Valley, close to Silchester. And then there is another place which is actually on Watling Street, just south of Dunstable in Bedfordshire. And then there is a place in Surrey, which is between Callow Hill and Knowle Hill off the Devil's Highway. So, did you manage, just a quick one, did you manage to catch the details of the battle, Porky? I wasn't sure if you were in for that or if you've only just started listening, because I was looking forward to hearing that bit. And I don't think Green Eyes has spotted you yet either. Your wingman's here, Greenie. So, the aftermath of this rebellion was that Nero, he'd already been humming and hawing about withdrawing from Britain. This really made him... Oh, no, he just got here. Give me a private reading. Not a problem, I shall do. Because I think it's dead interesting. I don't know what you guys have thought about the... I'll just actually ask. Oh, and he's saying hi, squadron leader to Green Eyes. What are your guys' opinions of the battle as we've just gone through it? Have you got any thoughts on it? And just while I'm waiting for that, I'll just carry on with this little bit about so Nero, because he'd already been considering withdrawing, and this uprising really rattled him. It got him quite shaken, and he really was at the verge of withdrawing all troops from Britannia. But because the revolt was put down so forcefully by Suetonius, he then decided to carry on with the occupation of Britain. Now, fearing that Suetonius's punitive policies would provoke further rebellion, then Nero replaced him with a guy called Publius Petronius Turpilianus. He was a little bit more malleable, shall we say. It was Portugal. Relying on withdrawal is a risky method. Absolutely. But I think he just didn't think it was worth it. And in the end, it turned out not to be. Fair enough, not for Nero, but just under 400 years later, the Romans completely withdrew from Britain. It just wasn't worth the time or their effort or the loss of their soldiers. I mean, I know that the Roman Empire was crumbling at that point anyway, but it is a sign of weakness. But I think Suetonius had already offered Nero that option. You know, he said, "Yeah, I can win. I can sort this out. You know, we can go to Mona, which is Anglesey. We can knock off all the Druids. We can ride roughshod over the native Britons. But if you think it's worth it," and he put that back onto Nero. If you think it's worth it, if you think it's worth the losses, and we're going to have losses, if you think it's worth losing these cities, and we're going to lose them, but I can give you a victory. And it was all about the victory for Nero, so he just went with it. But Suetonius, he was very hardline, and unfortunately, he beat Boudica. So, with her defeat, Roman rule in southern England continued, but the north of Britain, that never stopped being volatile. And back up there, so back up north, this was probably about 8 or 9 years after the Boudican revolt. There was another revolt, and it was by a guy called Venutius, and he was one of the Brigantes. Now, his revolt was less well documented, but although it was inspired by, I think it was local tribal rivalry, it soon started to become an anti-Roman revolt. So, you know, Boudica had set the ball rolling. I'm just going to check my notes, guys, just to see if there's anything that I missed. Now, one thing I do like is that we don't know if this is true or not. I mean, all warriors, all generals are known for giving, you know, a pep talk, a bit of a speech to the troops. And Tacitus wrote, now this was about 50 years later, but Tacitus wrote a speech that he attributed to Boudica. So I'm going to read you this, and I quite like it, to be honest. I would like to think that she stood in front of her troops and she said this. So here's Boudica, and this is what I'm going to close this section off with. "But now," she said, "it is not as a woman descended from noble ancestry, but as one of the people that I am avenging lost freedom. My scourged body, the outraged chastity of my daughters. Roman lust has gone so far that not our very persons, nor even age or virginity, are left unpolluted. But heaven is on the side of a righteous vengeance. A legion which dared to fight has perished. The rest are hiding themselves in their camp or are thinking anxiously of flight. They will not sustain even the din and the shout of so many thousands, much less our charge and our blows. If you weigh well the strength of the armies and the causes of the war, you will see that in this battle you must conquer or die. This is a woman's resolve. As for men, they may live and be slaves. And there you have her closing speech. And I thought, yeah, good on you, girl, because she's just saying, you know what? I'm a woman and this is what I'm going to do. You don't want to fight, fellas? Don't. Stay home. Be slaves. But I am going to avenge my daughters. Now, Tacitus also wrote a speech that he attributed to Suetonius. I wasn't going to read this, but I am going to do. I wanted to finish with Boudica's speech, but it's just to show you that just the arrogance and contempt that the Romans held the native Britons in. And this is what Suetonius addressed his legionaries with. Yeah, I think it was well said, Simples, and it just makes me even crosser when you see what Suetonius had said. So here we go. Ignore the racket made by these savages. There are more women than men in their ranks. They are not soldiers. They're not even properly equipped. We have beaten them before, and when they see our weapons and they feel our spirit, they'll crack. Stick together. Throw the javelins, then push forward. Knock them down with your shields and finish them off with your swords. Forget about plunder. Just win and you will have everything. So that's what he thought of the ancient Britons. Nice one. But, you know, whose name do you remember? You know, you do remember Suetonius when you read about him, but he's not the one that, yeah, that's all he said, Simples. That was it. Basically, kill him. Kill him, the savages. There's more women. They just held the women in contempt, and what they failed to realise is that, you know, the ancient Britons, the women warriors were just as fierce. In fact, many people had said they were bloody worse. They were absolutely bloodthirsty and cutthroat, merciless. And I know you do hear sometimes as well, don't you, about people saying, well, you know, I'd rather fight 20, was it, oh God, it was about the shield maidens, wasn't it? We were talking about this a few weeks ago. You know, you'd rather face 100 men than 20 shield maidens. They might not be as strong as the men. They may not be able to carry as much equipment as the men. But by the gods, they really can show vengeance a new face, can't they? Oh, and here he goes. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry about that. We just had a bit of a doggy issue. I was just looking back through chat. Green was saying, pork chop, much better today. Oh, Hope Cooper was a good boy. He was great for me. A couple of incidents, but they revolved around food, so he did what dogs do. Yeah, he thieved. That's what he did. No, they didn't last in Britain, Frida, and I always I always take good pleasure from the fact that they never ever managed to conquer Scotland. They just couldn't do it. They could not compete. Wait, did you just say you had a doggy? No, doggy issue. Uh, Grim, my tiny dog, was gonna attack Cooper through the screen. Oh gosh. Chill, Grim, chill. He's not doing anything. But yeah, I mean, the Celts were the reasons that the Romans had such difficulty in Britain. Yeah, fair enough. The south of Britain, they more or less conquered, and they had the cities that they set up there, the huge areas of habitation. But for the rest of the of England, and definitely Scotland, it was wild. It was untamed. They just couldn't advance because the Celts were the masters of guerrilla warfare. They were hit and run merchants. They'd attack out of the mists and they would disappear back into the mists as quickly as they'd arrived. So the Romans they weren't used to that. They were used to a field of battle. Look what happened with the Ninth Legion. They were coming along a road because they hadn't been able to strategically plan how they were going to fight the Iceni. They didn't have a battlefield. They were actually on the march. They were ambushed. They were wiped out. They could not deal or retaliate significantly, I suppose, to the guerrilla warfare tactics that were being employed by the Britons. So it was only a matter of time before that they did jog on and go back to Rome. Having said that, Rome was on its death knell anyway. So Christianity was coming, things were moving on. But it was just another in a long line of invasions because as the Romans left, then the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes started to invade from Germany. All that area around, northern France, Germany, the Denmarky area around there. So the Britons just didn't have a cat in hell's chance, really. Everybody wanted a peace and they were going to get it. And then after that, following on from the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes, it was then the Vikings. And then after the Vikings, it was then the Normans. But luckily after that, really, there were no other successful invasions. I mean, the Spanish Armada, they got fucked right off. The French never managed to get across, even just across the Channel, to invade anything. So, but yeah, there were 1,000+ years of invasions. And I saw something, it was quite a while ago I was reading, and a historian had said that we do a great disservice to the native people of Britain because we're described as Anglo-Saxon, but he said really it shouldn't be Anglo-Saxon. It should be either Anglo-Celtic or Celtic-Saxon, because the Angles, the Saxons and the Jutes were all the same people. They were just 3 tribes of the same peoples. And they said by not including Celt in the description used for the people of the British Isles, or the people of England specifically, you're kind of forgetting that they were here. Because when the DNA tests were done and they were trying to find out about the Viking influence, it was also they managed to identify a Celtic marker. Now they had to do this from a village that was in central Southern Ireland, And the reason they picked that place was because of where it was. There would have, well, it would have been unlikely to have ever had any population migration in or out, you know, over the past several hundred years, if not several thousand years. The people in that area would have probably never travelled outside of a 50-mile radius. So they could pretty much guarantee that that would be more or less pure Celtic blood, as it turned out it was. And I just wish that, yeah, they've done the Viking DNA test. I just wish that they would do the Celtic one, just to see how much of native British blood is still here. Now, whether, you know, in whichever area, whether that's Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England, I just would like to see it. I know they've never managed to identify Pictish DNA. They don't know. It could have been the same as Celtic. It could have been the same as Scottish. Don't forget, the Scots came from Ireland. The Scots weren't from Scotland. The Scoti. Romans always reminded me of the Nazi army. Just my opinion. Do you know what, Frida? You're actually right there. You are actually, yeah. I can see exactly where that's going, and I suppose, I wonder whether, do you think that is because of what happened in, like, the Middle East? You know, going back to, you know, the Roman occupation of kind of Jerusalem and the way that they treated the Jews there. Do you think that possibly is why you've made that link? Or, you know, you think there's that similarity? Or is it just purely about the way they fought? And because I must admit, I always think of the Romans, they remind me of the British Empire. But again, that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people would probably disagree with that. Just check the chat again. Oh, don't be laughing at him, Green Eyes. Dogging issue. Flipping heck. He'll probably be playing his wonderful game, though. So, yeah. So that is our Boudica. That is our lovely Boudica story. I don't know if there's anything else anybody wants to know, or we'll just have a general chit chat about different things. Oh, I'll tell you what as well. We were watching something on the telly and I was fascinated by it. I can't remember the flipping name of the place though. It was a UFO sighting at an RAF base by American servicemen. And it was on the telly, and Porkchop and I were watching it, and I was fascinated with this. And he went, "You should do a live on that." So I think I might actually do. Was it Redsham? Oh God, I can't remember now. Oh, there you go. He's there, Rendlesham Forest. Well, I was no good, was I? Said Redsham. Has anybody heard of Rendlesham Forest? Because I hadn't. And it looks quite an interesting story. So I think I might do one on, you know, because I said I'll do, because I'm trying to do something for everybody. So I'll do a alien thing one time, and then I'll do a paranormal thing, and I'll do a history thing. But yeah, I thought that Rendlesham Forest looked really good. They've actually got recordings of, it was a senior officer, this American senior officer. You can hear them actually talking about what they're seeing, and it was fascinating. I mean, it was quite a quick snippet that we saw, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find a lot more information. And there was a little bit of mystery thrown in there as well about some evidence, which again, people like Green Eyes and that's it, Lieutenant Colonel Holt, thank you. The Nazi army, always very equipped, their uniform and everything, but even with all this, they still didn't win the war. Ah, right, in that respect, yeah. Yeah, it's... yeah, World War II, the Nazi Party, that's, yeah, I think that's one I could probably do a full series of lives on that, because I do like World War II. And I've still got to pick up again on my Viking stuff, because oh, she's here, UFO. Yeah, Green Eyes is you're on quite a delay there, chicken. Oh, you're welcome, Frida. I just wished I'd been able to finish it on Sunday, but I couldn't. But what was it? Oh, it was Simples wanted to do near-death experiences, wasn't it? Frida, I'm so sorry. My brain is like mush still. What was it you were fancying? Was it it wasn't the supernatural stuff, was it? But yeah, Green Eyes, that Rendlesham Forest that Pork Chops put in there, I heard about it today for the first time. I'm not sure. I can't remember when it was. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm inclined to say the 60s or the 70s, but it might have been more recent. Might have even been in the 80s. But yeah, I think it came back on like over the course of a couple of nights. And I tell you something else as well. I was really shocked. There was a UFO sighting, which was up near Lower Bentham, which is where one of my friends lives. This was on this. Oh, there you go. He knows everything. It was 1980, Green Eyes. And this other UFO sighting, they were talking about it, and they said the nearest thing that they could describe it as was there's a film of this light that was over Temple Mount in Jerusalem quite recently. I think that was in the 90s. And you see this thing, and all of a sudden it just rockets up. It shoots like I couldn't even tell you the speed of it, and it's caught on camera. I know, because I watched it today. I can remember stuff Yeah, well, you obviously remember things better than me. I've got an excuse. My brain's still addled. The only reason I remembered it at all was because I'd watched it today. Yeah, that's it, Green Eyes, Rendlesham Forest. Well, I hadn't heard about it at all. Like Pork Chops just said them. We watched it today, just before I came home. But yeah, whatever that was over the Temple Mount was as freaky as anything. You're on top. Oh, is that why you're missing it, Green Eyes? Oh, is that the link for it, Porks? Where's your buddy tonight? Is he wearing a frock and walking on a tightrope? Or is he not shown up? Oh, is that for the Jerusalem link? Green Eyes, that link that Porky's just put in, just have a click on that and have a watch of it. And come back and tell me what you think, because I was just like, oh my goodness. Oh, you're just waiting for him to finish off what he's doing. Is it? Oh, what's that? Damn is. Is it? Oh, it's not available. Oh, flipping heck, Green Eyes. I'll bet there'll be another link somewhere. I'll see if I can find one for you. Oh, there you go. Porky's going to find you another one. What's the tire so I can try to Google it? Oh, title. I've got no idea. Just maybe try, I don't know, Temple Mount UFO, maybe. I'm not sure what Porky put in as his search. But yeah, that was really weird watching it. And then there was something else we were watching as well, which was about was it Secret Architecture? Oh, there you go. There's another one, Green Eyes. Is UFO in Jerusalem, is that right? I'm not sure, but Porky just above you has put in another link. But it's the weirdest thing. Yeah, and talking about the forbidden architecture and things like that. There's also this thing I think it was in Poland, called the Henge, and this was Nazi experimentation of some kind, and they were linking it with futuristic travel, shall we say, and if anyone's heard the story of the Foo Fighters, that got a mention as well. So that's something else, because I know that Green Eyes and Sheila are really into that kind of thing. Maybe a little more recent than you would have liked, but that was quite interesting watching it. I wonder if Simples has seen that Jerusalem thing, because it's quite shocking seeing the speed that goes off. Oh, it's a shame that Mirror Man's missed the battle talk as well. Just going to have a little look back through chat to make sure I haven't missed anybody. I don't think so. No. Yeah, so as I said, in a couple of nights' time, I will go through the Ninth Legion story. Only because I don't think I am flagging quite a lot at the moment, so I might make another hour if that, but I can't promise anything. Oh, excuse me. Oh. I am going to do a little bit of research on that Rendlesham, and maybe the Jerusalem one as well, if I combine some different UFO stories. And maybe, I mean, how many people are familiar with Travis Walton? Because he was on one of these UFO programs as a guest. Now, I watched Fire in the Sky, which is the film about his abduction back in, I think it was in the 1970s or 60s. The film's actually pretty good, but he looked an absolute mess on the telly. Now, whether it's as a result of his abduction, I don't know. But I find his story quite fascinating. And like Cassius mentioned the other day, Barney and Betty, they had that time lapse thing. There's also, I found some stories about alien abductions. It was a town, and there were loads of kids of similar ages. They'd never met each other, and they were all abducted. 1975, thank you. Thanks, Porky. All of these children in this one town, they had massive time losses. Now, some of the kids were found. There was one. The family were in a car traveling home. They suddenly saw this big light. The car died. The engine just died, and then the daughter who was in this car woke up hours later in a field with no idea how she'd got there, and the parents had no idea that she'd gone missing out of the back of the car. And a similar thing happened to a little boy who was on the other side of town. And I think, again, this happened, I think it was in the 1960s or 50s. Little boy, other side of town. He was a couple of years younger than the girl who'd gone missing. He came to in the middle of a field running for his life. He had no idea what he was running from. I think it was his brother as well. But proper giving it legs back to the house. No idea how he'd got there. And then quite a while later, I don't know whether it was a matter of weeks, months or years, he and this girl bumped into each other and they knew each other. They'd actually met on and it brought back their memory. They'd met on this spacecraft, and there were other people from the same town, and similar things were happening. People were recognizing each other and recognizing them from this particular abduction. And it's quite famous in America. You know, all these people, you know, they're old people now. Frida says, pork chop, I can never understand when they show these UFOs on the film, etc. We never get a close-up. The thing is, though, Frida, have you ever tried to video some? Because usually nowadays you're using mobile phones, aren't you? Trying to catch a film of something. And I've done it just trying to catch a film of a buzzard. There's a buzzard whirling around. It wasn't that high up, but I didn't get a clear, even though I was right underneath it, I zoomed right in on my mobile phone on it, it still wasn't clear. It's like, you know, people get criticised when they say they've got footage of Bigfoot, and they call them blob squatches because they can't make out what they are. You know, and people saying, well, wouldn't you think in this day and age you could get a good picture of something or get it a bit closer? But again, there's only so much that a mobile phone can do. So whether, and I suppose if it's actual film, you know, radar or whatever else, I suppose it would depend exactly how close this thing is, because it might look big, but it might be, you know, thousands of miles away or hundreds of miles away or what have you, high up, or I don't know. So maybe it's not looking clear because it is actually a hell of a lot further away than we realise. The American Air Force have good technology. When they show UFOs on film, they're always wee blips. Yeah, I know, and it's bizarre, isn't it? But again, is that just because of either the speed they're going at or it could be at a massive distance? It's very bizarre. I mean, you've had aircraft pilots who have said that they were being buzzed by little cylindrical objects, and they've shown up on radar. Obviously, they've not managed to get photographs of them. And then there is one, I did see one where a passenger on a plane, they had taken a photograph out of the window, and that has got a UFO, which it looks like it's hovering just near the wing of the plane. And it looks very, although it does look metallic, it looks very fluid like. it not fluid. Oh, like metallic water. That was the best way that I could describe it. Looked a bit like metallic water. And I don't mean like mercury, that kind of fluid. So would I. So would I, Frida. I've no doubt that they've got some better footage. It's just, we're not getting it. We're only going to get it in dribs and drabs. I mean, we're only talking not a year ago since they actually admitted, the Pentagon has admitted. This was something else on the program as well. Did you realize, because I didn't, that the US Air Force has at least one encounter with UFOs per month? At least one. No, not the T-1000 either. No, it's weird. It's like how would I describe it? So you imagine it's metallic, but it's more bluey, whitey, waterish looking. Did you see that link I posted where there was 20 to 30 witnesses? I haven't Simples. I haven't. Have you? I mean, I know you like the UFO stuff. Have you heard of that Rendlesham Forest that Porky's put in? We just saw something today, and I hadn't heard of it before, and I want to do something on that. This is an excellent channel, Ancient Mysteries History. Oh, thank you, Green Eyes. Yeah, well, simple. It's a really well documented case. It's got it's at an RAF base in this country. I think it was it Suffolk? Anyway, but they were American servicemen, and they have recorded the conversations while they're seeing it. And as Porky put it in, it was a Lieutenant Colonel Holt. He's having a conversation with, one of the servicemen about what they're actually seeing. They're describing it. Yeah, that's right, Simples. UK, American people. Lots on pyramids and ancient historical sites around the world. A lot of alien content too. Tried to put it down to a lighthouse, but that can't be true as a light was red. Well, it's not just that though, Porky, is it? Oh, Simples, yeah, maybe the same one. Well, if you think about it, if it was a lighthouse, those servicemen are out and about at night every day. So if it was a lighthouse, it would have still been rotating and flashing in the same way on every other day. This is 365 days a year. It's not only going to be visible for 2 of those 365 days, is it? I think that's just somebody trying to put people off the scent, shall we say. And the fact that that leading American serviceman came over from Germany, gathered up all the evidence without so much as a by your leave of the British Ministry of Defence, and fecked off back to Germany with it. It's an air base. That lighthouse would have been seen by every pilot and marked as a flight hazard. Well, yeah, of course they would, Simples. Of course they would. I just think it was a really weak explanation by that guy. There was because he was a scientist or something, wasn't? Oh no, he wasn't. He was a UFO journalist, I think he was. And he was just out for debunking it and saying, "Oh no, I can tell you it's this and I can tell you it's that." And we were watching it, and I was like, "No, absolutely no way. No way. Would have been seen before." And like Porky said, it would have been marked as a fire hazard. All the pilots would have known it was there. If they're living and working on that base, they would know that, they've got a straight view across to a lighthouse. not that far away. So it's a load of shit. Let me just see. I'll have to check that site out, Green Eyes, because I want to get a little bit more into looking at the UFO, claims of UFO sightings or encounters or whatnot. It's never really been my thing, but talking about it, oh, excuse me, talking about it over the last, we've had a couple of conversations, haven't we, the last week or two, and I'm getting quite interested in it. Bruni has a good academic background too. Right, do you know what the guy's name is, Green Eyes? But the channel's called Bright Insight. You see, do you remember there used to be programmes? Okay, I'm going to be here, but not here. All right, babe, no problem. I'll shout your name just in case we need to catch your attention without interfering in your game. Good luck, kill many, don't die. Do you remember that I read a book by this guy, Arthur C. Clarke, and I got told, Green Eyes, that he used to do a program called Arthur C. Clarke Mysterious World, I think. And he used to cover all sorts of different things. I'm probably telling you something you already know, but I didn't know this. And he used to cover all sorts of things. Oh, yeah. Happy gaming, pot chop. It used to cover all sorts of things like spontaneous human combustion, and then the crystal skulls we were talking about, and aliens and things like that. Yeah. And what I didn't realise is that guy, he's connected to the Jodrell Bank, isn't he? The Hubble telescope. I just thought, he's one of these mysteries and conspiracy theorists potentially and what have you. But yeah. So I thought I wouldn't mind reading some of his stuff as well. I'd never seen it. I wonder if I can get some. Wonder if I can find some episodes or something online. I mean, the only one of those that I kind of went into was Eric Van Daniken, and I loved his stuff, his books. I think the first one I read was Chariots of the Gods, and that just got me really thinking. I can't remember what the other one was called. If anybody's read them, if you can give me a prompt in chat, because I just can't remember. But with Eric Van Daniken, he goes through everything. So he goes through not only the potential alien influence, but he covers all the ancient architecture, Green Eyes, and also, which Joe was looking forward to doing as well, was that he goes across. What's Robert Duvall? Oh, the actor Robert Duvall. He's always on Ancient Aliens. Oh, who is Eric Van Daniken, Mrs. Mercury? I just find him fascinating. And the explanations he's given, one of the explanations he gave was about the Exodus. Oh, he writes books with Graham Hancock. Oh, thank you. Okay. Yeah, I remember you saying, Joe, but I'm just on about now with what's his name, Eric Van Daniken, and I don't know if you've ever read any of his books, Joe, but the theories that because he was saying that at one point, I mean, and we're going back into ancient times, that it wasn't that uncommon for ancient people to engage in a bit of animalistic how's your father without getting too graphic. And now he was saying that he thinks we were an experiment, shall we say, a genetic experiment. You're like, oh, bless you, sweetheart. It's not that bad. You're not as far behind as you were before, though. You were quite a way behind. Now, he said that he thinks this is where the Moses and the 40 years in the desert thing goes, because he said that obviously ancient humans, he said he already thinks there'd been some DNA manipulation and genetic manipulation, that then people, despite this alien manipulation of our genetics, were still sliding back into these bad habits of trying to crossbreed with, yeah, we'll leave it right there. So he said what they then did was, once again, a bit of a lab experiment, but if you're trying to make something pure, what do? You put it into isolation, don't you? And he said that 40 years timescale would have been just enough to make sure that a genetic line was pure and free of anything that didn't quite sit right. Now, he also theorizes that this again has something to do with these, we were talking about the sacrifices, the Incas and the Aztecs and the Mayans. These sacrifices where they would basically take the beating hearts out of, the victim, and they did it for these sun god rituals. And they were saying they think that this was, oh, is the storms there, Green Eyes? Oh, flipping heck. And he was saying that he thinks that this was passed down, stories had been passed down by word of mouth, and obviously not understood by successive generations, but this had been the description possibly of aliens performing surgery on, under anesthetic, of course, maybe open heart surgery, maybe transplant surgery, but that they had witnessed this, not fully grasped everything that it was about. And because they were then wanting these sun gods to return to them, they tried to mimic them. And the mimicking was taking out the beating heart of a sacrificial victim. But really, it wasn't about the sacrifice. It was about a memory that they had of potentially open heart surgery being carried out or transplant surgery carried out. And that's why I love Eric Van Daniken. He's a bit out there, but you've got to give his theories a little bit of, tip your hat at them, because he does put across very plausible arguments. It's like he looks at the Mayan temples, and he himself was saying there were some things that there were channels, like half, it's not quite set, basically like a trough shape in some of these temple blocks or the building blocks. And he was saying that a lot of time people were saying that they thought they were water conduits, and then he looked at them and he said, given the measurements and the angles, because these will go at some very sharp angles, you know, right angles, and he said that's not the way that you would expect a flow of water to be going, that it was totally impractical. And he said, the only thing I can think of, he said, that would fit perfectly in these troughs, and it wouldn't make any difference because of the angles they were going at, would be electrical cables. And once he said that, and I looked at photographs of these buildings, I was like, oh God, you're right. Absolutely, are you right? So yeah, anybody interested in the ancient alien angle, please look up Eric Van Daniken. Is he still alive, Mrs. Mercury, do you know? I know you're saying he pops up on Ancient Aliens, but I mean, he must be really getting on now. I'm just going to have a look and see. I tried to charge up my my tablet, and I'm just going to see if it's going to work, because I want to try and find out, one, if he's still alive, and two, what the name of his other book was. So I can tell you, because it's well worth a watch, a read. Oh, stupid thing isn't let me do a search. 39 degrees and 100% humidity the last couple of days. Oh, poor you. I'm not sure, to be honest. No problem, Mrs. Mercury. I'll try and do a little search myself. Oh, Frida, love Chariots of the Gods. Read it years ago. Very interesting. There's another. Was it Chariots of the Gods that it had those theories in about Moses and the Exodus? Or was it the other one? Because I'm just trying to think, because I think I've read it's either 2 or 3 of his books now. Right, let's have a look. Eric Van Daniken. Oh, he's still with us. He's currently 86 years of age, Mrs. Mercury. Oh, there's his YouTube page. Thank you for that. Right, I'm just going to check out the books that, because obviously Frida and I have read the same one, Chariot of the Gods. But I need to find the names of the other one that I read. Gosh, he has got so many. He has. I didn't realise he'd written this many books. Right, the ones I've read are Chariots of the Gods, Return to the Stars, and Miracle of the Gods. But then he's got all sorts. He's got The Gods Were Astronauts, Evidence of the True Identities of the Old Gods. That sounds like a good one to read. He's got, oh, hey, this is one for you, Green Eyes. Get this one. Confessions. Oh, and Sheila as well. She likes this stuff, doesn't she? Confessions of an Egyptologist, Lost Libraries, Vanished Labyrinths, and the Astonishing Truth Under the Saqqara Pyramids. Now that looks like it's his latest book, and that was in 2021. Yeah, you should do Mrs. Mercury. Fingerprints of the Gods is good too. I've not read that one, Green Eyes. Now that isn't in his, it's got his bibliography here, and it's not, that one's actually not down here. Obviously not as concise as they thought it was. Wow. Now, there is another one. Let me have a think. There was, oh, what's his name? Sorry, I'm gonna be struggling now. You have to give me 1 second. Oh, I don't know who. Oh, hang on. I think it was a program, wasn't it? The Case of the Ancient Astronauts. That was it. And I watched that quite a while ago. I was trying to think of the name of it. And that was really good. That was a BBC program, that was from this, I think it's either the 70s or the 80s. But yeah, The Case of the Ancient Astronauts. It might be good to see if you can, if you know, that's available on YouTube, maybe. Let's have a look. American before another good one. Sign and the Seal and Underworld good too. No, I like books. I love reading. Miss Mercury, every time I watch Ancient Aliens, I keep saying I will, but this time I will actually go on Amazon and have a look for them. Yeah. Do you know, I wonder if because sometimes if you type in on YouTube and say you type in one of the titles of his books and put audio book, you sometimes will find somebody very random, like me, for instance, who's reading these books out. So it might be worth having a look for an audio book, because there's oh no, what's the other one as well? There was another one that I found. It was something for Green Eyes and Sheila about the pyramids, and I did write it down. Trying to find my notes in my little book, and I thought, oh, I'll better let you know about this one. Oh, I'm so sorry about this. Bear with me, guys. Just trying to find this flipping name of a program I wrote down. Oh, there's another one as well, which we were talking about. Do you remember we were on about Easter Island? There's a book. Oh, I don't know about Hancock's books, Green Eyes. Yeah, there's a book called The Enigmas of Easter Island. And as I said, there's that program, if you can get hold of it, which was a BBC program called The Case of the Ancient Astronauts. Yeah, I'm going to have a look at that when I go to bed, Green Eyes, because I'm going to have a good read on that. Oh, there you go. It was Ancient Egypt, Misconceptions About the Pyramids. These were some articles. And then there is forgive me, got that wrong. This was something on something called Hope Channel, which I hadn't heard. It's called Aliens or Egyptians? Who Really Built the Pyramids? There was a Nova program called Decoding the Great Pyramid. And then I think that was it. But yeah, every time I see something, I try to write it down. And I do sometimes read, if a skeptic tries to debunk something, sometimes I find sometimes I find those quite interesting as well. Because I am open-minded. Tell you what I've just found here, because I was looking up Van Daniken. He's had 30 million books printed globally in 35 different languages. Just reading this about him for anybody who doesn't know. So sorry, bear with me, guys, but I'm just gonna read this little bit about Eric Van Daniken. All over the world, he's become famously controversial for his two claims that go against all scientific dogma. One claim is that Earth in ancient times had been visited by creatures from space, and his other claim is that these non-human guests have programmed humanity as if we were biological computers. He believes that the space aliens gave our ancestors the gift of thinking and ingrained us with the desire to return to space. We will only have fulfilled the obligation which the unknown star people in the mists of yore heaped on our forefathers, together with their gift of intelligence, when we have when we have conquered the immense distances of space and travel to other star systems. But I did not have a clue that it's like 30 million books. I mean, bloody hellfire. He's obviously doing something right, isn't he? Just going to have a look at his biography for a second and see if I can... Right, so, my goodness, he wrote Chariots of the Gods in 1968. So he writes that structures such as the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and the Moai of Easter Island and certain artifacts from that period are products of higher technological knowledge than is presumed to have existed at the time they were manufactured. He describes ancient artwork throughout the world as containing depictions of astronauts, air and space vehicles, extraterrestrials, and complex technology. Van Daniken explains the origins of religions as reactions to contact with an alien race and offers interpretations of sections of the Old Testament of the Bible. I think you need to write some alien books. Have you had any encounters, Joe? Have you seen anything? Oh, good link there from Mrs. Mercury. This looks good, written by a Major Donald Keogh. Oh, great. I'll have a little read of that afterwards. So do you like this stuff as well then, Mrs. Mercury? I mean, I'm not saying I've said it before. I'm not saying I don't believe in aliens. I just haven't seen one. But I'm open to it, and I quite like talking about them and about this stuff, like with the ancient architecture and ancient alien type things, all the mysteries that surround it and the different ways of thinking. And I like the genetic side of things as well. Now, I'm just going to see if anything he... oh, I don't know what happened there. Sorry about this. My screen just went completely black. I'm just going to... I don't know if you guys can still hear me or not, but I'm going to come back in. Oh, aliens could have been angels if you believe in the Bible. Well, that's it. Absolutely. Oh, Joe, I've seen strange lights up when backpacking in Tahoe once. A bright fog experience while backpacking along the coast. But do you know what, Greenhouse? Mine just did the same thing, which is a bit bizarre. Isn't it funny? Just as we're talking about aliens, you lose connection and I lose connection. Ah, here we go. Now, this is something about the Nazca lines. So, well, Van Daniken brought the Nazca lines to public prominence, and that was in... I know it is spooky, Green Eyes. This was in Chariots of the Gods, with his proposal that the lines were built on instructions from extraterrestrial beings as airfields for their spaceships. In his 1998 book, Arrival of the Gods, he added that some of the pictures depicted extraterrestrials. Descriptions of some Nazca line photographs in Chariots of the Gods contain... oh, they put here significant inaccuracies. One example purporting to demonstrate markings of a modern airport was actually the knee joint of one of the bird figures and was quite small. Van Daniken said that this was an error in the first edition. You see, it's saying here that archaeologists, the consensus of opinion appears to be that the Nazca lines were created by pre-Columbian civilizations for cultural purposes. But although archaeologists have tried to refute fringe theories like Van Daniken's, their efforts have been minimal. Now let's have a look. Just found the Confessions book on that book site. Oh, wow. I'd love to fly over the Nazca lines. Joe, so would I. Can you imagine doing that in a balloon? I'm torn. I find it difficult to believe in aliens because if they can reach us, then I presume that they have superior knowledge. And if they do exist, what do we have to offer them that they don't have? Well, unless we're a bit of an experiment, Mrs. Mercury. Because apparently, I didn't know this. Have any of you watched Prometheus? You know, the Ridley Scott, the kind of prequel to Alien? And they call the aliens there because they look a bit like us, don't they? They're huge, but they look a bit like us. And they call them the engineers. And I didn't realise that the idea for Prometheus and the theories that, are contained in that film were kind of loosely based on what Van Daniken believes, about us being a genetically manufactured species. That's only because a lot of these academics are jealous, call them pseudo-archaeologists. Yeah, I know they do. Possibly, I've heard the experiment theory before. I just find it fascinating, Mrs. Mercury, when you look at, all the arguments he puts forward. And I know a lot of people poo-poo him and I'm just trying to see if there's anything here that I can find to read out to you about. No, there's nothing in there. In that little bit I was reading about him. I just find him absolutely fascinating. I'll have another look and see if I can find, because obviously if you've not read anything of his, then you won't have heard this bit. Although I've just done a search here, and the first thing that's come up is a YouTube. Yeah, I think they're studying us, Frida. I think we're like, I think they're treating Earth as a bit of a petri dish. Yeah, the first thing that came up when I did the search was Eric Van Daniken and Michael Cremo on genetic evidence of human devolution. And he was doing a study, wasn't he, where he was trying to look for alien DNA. I don't know if you remember about that. There's a guy, Zechariah. Oh, one of you'll know this one. He's the guy who wants to take sometimes think they come from the inside of Earth. Well, very probably, because you were talking about that a while ago, or was that Simples? I can't remember, but this Zachariah, oh God, whatever the name is, he wanted there's a body of a Sumerian that's about 5,000 years old, and he wants some DNA testing done in it because he is he's convinced that if they do DNA testing on it, they'll find out that it's alien DNA. And he's like a contemporary of Von Daniken. He's of a similar age. I think he's Russian. I've heard that theory too, underwater and in the earth. Well, definitely the underwater thing. I think, have you heard that they call it the blip? That really weird signal that they keep getting underwater, and some sonars and things pick it up. And it's really weird, and they don't know whether it's from, some people have suggested it's possibly like maybe a type of whale that we don't know exists, like an ancient whale or something, or some other kind of underwater creature. Yeah, the blip. Well, did I watch it or read it? Anyway, whichever. I either watched something or I read about it. Again, somebody's saying that they think that that is a signal from, an alien, whether it be a craft or a city or something that's actually not only is it under the sea, it's under the bed of the sea. And it's like a homing beacon, because it's not heard all the time, is it? That it's kind of set off, when there's incoming. It's green, I say. I believe there is there's entry to Earth over Antarctica. That's why it's a no-fly zone. What, and Green, was it you who gave us that link a while ago Oh yes, it was you, wasn't it? Was it something that either Lady Witch or Green or Raven had sent to you, and you sent it to me? Mrs. Maker says some people say that the rare blood group is linked to aliens, and as my ex-brother-in-law had that blood group, I can believe it. Well, it's the rhesus negative, isn't it? Do you remember we were talking about that in here, and I was asking how many people had rhesus negative blood or not? They're saying it's possibly Star Child blood. Yeah, to Captain Bird who flew. Yeah, that's it. That was the one. I couldn't think of his name, Green Eyes. But yeah, see, I've got. I do think there's something in the rhesus negative blood theory, though. And I am one of those carriers. Oh, weird. I need to go give my blood. I got an appointment for a blood test. I'm an alien. Are you rhesus negative, Joe? Because there were that many people who were in chat. I think Sid Vicious was one. Puts foil hats on and sits in the corner. I don't think so. I gotta go, dang it. Bye, loves. No, I'm not. I'm A positive. Oh, that's still a pretty rarish blood group, though, isn't it, Joe? And in fact, if my memory serves me right, just before you go, I'm sure that the A positive is Northern European. Oh, it's more common in Northern Europeans. No, I've not seen him either, Green Eyes. I was hoping Nancy's all right. I think he cropped up. Was it last week? Like towards the beginning of last week or the back end of the week before, and he popped in just to say hello. He'd been listening in. I can just picture you there with your little tinfoil hat on. They used to actually, we're joking about that. Oh well, there you go, Joe. Possibly, possibly, or you never know, because again, there were a few theories about native people and coming over the land bridge before it separated, from Russia to North America, and bringing certain blood groups with them that way. You never do know. Well, when you're talking about picturing you there, Green Eyes, I used to I was a moderator on a chat forum quite a few years ago, and there was a guy called Ben who used to come in, and oh God, and I felt sorry for him actually, because he was really like that. The film Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. He was like the Mel Gibson character, but not as good looking. He showed us photographs of his room, and he had literally lined the walls with tinfoil because he didn't want people, knowing where he was, zapping in on him, trying to affect his brain waves. I mean, the guy was really out there, and we used to laugh, think, oh my God, he was an absolute nut job. Oh, take care, Joe, love. We'll see you soon. Thinking he was an absolute nut job. But then again, I thought, well, I don't know what's happened to him. Who am I to say that aliens couldn't have abducted him and made him as paranoid as F? I really don't know. I can't say, because I don't know if they are there or not. Casper site was showing some one of these videos where they look at you know, he does the scariest, so he'll do the ghost ones or he'll do poltergeist ones, and he was looking at some alien ones, and there's actually a film crew, and they filmed this like alien, well, this being just vanish in a flash of light. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So who am I to say that they do not exist? But yeah, I love discussing all of this. It just makes my brain work. Probably not brilliantly, but it does actually work. Oh look, a few years ago, I followed a blood type diet. It's amazing what foods are good and bad for your blood type, and how wrong foods for your blood type and how wrong foods for your blood affect you. Right. I've never heard of that. Yeah, Mrs. Mercury, that's the thing. You know, you're saying, although I have difficulty believing, it's a huge universe, so I suppose anything is possible. I think we would be incredibly arrogant to think that we are the only planet that has managed to evolve the way we have. The size of the galaxy and the universe, and I mean, space is, where does it stop? How far does it go? How many other universes within universes are there that we've never got to, and probably never will, unless space travel advances to that degree. I mean, I'll just use for an example. Do you remember the series Stargate? You know, and these were universes that we didn't even, or that they didn't even know were there. But they were still, you know, they were just the same as Earth, but they were just millions upon millions of light years away. I still say they were here before us, and we are their experiment. Yeah, I think I would, if I was going to go along with anything simples, I'd probably say that was the theory I would go with. They're just watching to see how we're getting along. Love that movie with Mel Gibson. Signs, but I've not seen Signs, Frida, but I'll take your recommendation on it. Oh yes, Green Eyes. Yeah, the film was great, wasn't it? Because it had Kurt Russell in it, wasn't it? He's such a good-looking bloke. Also, why do governments spend billions on space programs? USA defense around Roswell. Well, yeah, and Signs is fantastic. Nothing horrible scared me shitless. Oh, I might try and have a watch of that then, Green Eyes. I think I'll have a watch. You see, there's something, you've just hit on something there, Mrs. Mercury, because you've got that. There's also, as Green Eyes is saying, no fly over Antarctica, or was it Antarctica? Arctic? There's a no-fly zone there. There are certain military installations that aren't supposed to be military installations anymore, yet have armed guards wearing uniforms that lack insignia. I'll tell you what though, Green Eyes, you're saying why did they spend billions on space, full stop. I'll tell you who I can't wait to see blast off into space and not come fucking back. Richard Branson, the knob. No, they definitely know. You're making me jealous now, you two, because I've not seen it. I think I might watch that in bed. A massive American installation in the middle of the Australian outback. Well, there's something not far from where I live, and it's supposed to be an old World War II munitions place. Okay. Now, it's backing on to the land where the horses are. Quite a way down. It's probably about 50 acres down, but it has got security fencing. It's got security gates. There are CCTV cameras everywhere, right? You can't drive up to it, via the road without, I mean, it's like gate upon gate upon gate. When you look inside, there are all sorts of like masts and dishes and all sorts of things in there. Then there are also, now this is all grassed, by the way, but you can see that they're man-made, that look like they're going to be, I would say they're probably buildings underground, but they have these grassed over. So you don't know that the buildings, but you can tell that they're completely man-made. Now, I was telling Porky at the weekend, I went down with my friend's son. We were trying to catch, the horses were just being arses. This is a couple of years ago. The horses were being complete arses and they bogged off right down the valley. And we had to walk all the way over there. Now, we never go down that end because it's quite marshy. So nobody ever goes down there. But anyway, they've got all this metal fencing which separates the land that the horses are on to this former installation of whatever sort it is. And as we got down there, because we're like trying to get, the horses went right down to this fence, and I was with my friend's son, who was probably about 17 at the time, 16, 17. And we're tromping through, and I'm like, bloody swines. And we got right near this fence, and we're probably about 5 foot away from the fence. We found a dry-ish spot through the marsh. And we're thinking we can get along this way without ending up, waist high in water, and collar the horses. And as we're there, the next minute, these 2 guys appeared the other side of the fence. They were in uniforms, but they weren't uniforms I would recognise. And they were actually carrying guns. And the shout, what do you think you're doing here? So me being me, I'm like, it's none of your business, on private land. And this was a bit of, and they weren't pointing the guns at us. They just had the guns held, like across that, so that, sometimes if you see soldiers and they're on duty, they'll have, say, the left hand near the barrel of the gun, and the right hand will be kind of on the handle with the finger over the trigger, and they're just holding it across the chest. They were holding the guns like that. Now, Emma's son was quite fricky. He got a little bit scared about this, and this bloke's telling me, you better get moving away. And me being gobby, I'm going, get yourself to fuck. It's nothing to do with you. We're on private land. You get away from this fence. So if you don't want people near the fence, put a wall up. And he's panicking, and he made me laugh after, because going, she's tough as fuck. I was like, no, I wasn't. I said, it's just that they've got absolutely no right to dictate to somebody on private land what they can and can't do. if they don't want people near the fence and they don't want people seeing through the fence, then they need to make it more solid, don't they? Like put a wall up or sheeting or something. Which just made me want to go and look what was there even more. And we did. We went one night, but we didn't go that end of the fence. We went the top end, which is when we saw these hills and things that are there that are obviously man-made. Oh, I don't have Prime, Frida. Oh, bummer. I have Netflix though. Can maybe have a look and see if it's on Netflix. Secrecy makes me think aliens are real. Well, that's it, Mrs. Mercury. Why now? Why have they been denying it for decades? And then last year, the Pentagon finally admit. And the fact that this program that Porky and I saw today, and they were saying that the United States Air Force, this is admitted, the United States Air Force have admitted that they have an alien encounter at least once a month, or extraterrestrial or UFO encounter at least once a month. So if that's happening at least once a month, then it's not just recently at least once a month. This has been going back for however long, hasn't it? But then what do you think? So if you think they are aliens, are they all from the same planet? You know, because you people's descriptions of them vary, don't they? Some seem very benevolent, others are kind of the strap you in a chair and probe you type, and then you get others that are quite menacing. So, like the things that they claim to be happening on Skinwalker Ranch, you know, that's quite menacing to me. So I don't know what you think with that, but you know, could they just be different? Oh, I don't know. Aliens from different planets, or just different classes of alien from the same planet. You know, like we have upper, middle, and working class. Could there be that type of an alien? So you get some that are menacing and some that are quite benevolent. And if that's happening, the public should know. Didn't Donald Trump say he was going to spill the beans on UFOs? Well, I think that's what prompted this disclosure, Mrs. Mercury, because Donald had said it. That's why I was gutted when he came out of office, because like, oh God, everything that he could have let slip. Because you think if that's going on, would they be? I guess they'd have to disclose it to whichever the sitting president, wouldn't they? But I don't reckon they'll have said anything to Joe Biden, because I think he's 3 sheets to the cocking wind. That one, he wouldn't be able to hold his own water, would he? If he'd given a press conference and probably say, and anyway, talking about the wall near Mexico, we know that there's aliens, but they're coming in spacecrafts. And you can just see, what's her name, that Kamala Harris running around like a bloody chicken with her head cut off. Yeah, it's like one of those things, is it need to know? Because I suppose if there was a possibility of oh God, I'm really going off on one. Green eyes, you thought you needed a tinfoil hat. I was going to say, I suppose if there was a possibility of there being some form of intergalactic war or threat, that the president would need to know, wouldn't he? You know, if there was the likelihood that you were having to launch particular missiles and, and they weren't going to another country. So yeah, the president would need to know, or would it just be on a need to know basis? Let's tell him as and when it happens. You know, like an Independence Day, where they take them all to Roswell, to Area 51, and they finally come clean about there being aliens, and the president's asking why wasn't he told about it. So it could just be one of those. I honestly don't know. I think the American government and probably the Russian governments know a lot more than our government do, though. I was going to say it probably wouldn't be with us. I reckon the government, I mean, especially, can you imagine Boris? He'd be out with signs, wouldn't he, in Downing Street? Oh, don't worry, Green Eyes, you just miss me talking a total tinfoil hat time. Mrs. Mercury, that's the scary part, and we, the public, would be sold down the river. Yeah, absolutely, we would. Absolutely. But would you, as a leader of a country, would you want to risk the mass hysteria or panic if you were to tell people that, there are aliens, they've been living amongst us for the last 50, 60, 70 years, however long, and watch people just go into a complete and utter meltdown? Because that's possible. Boris is a fecking alien. He's a fecking moron. I just don't like politicians, full stop, those simples. Having said that, I'm not going to get into a political discussion because none of us will agree anyway. It would privatising. I saw Sheila had sent me an email. It didn't half make me laugh. It was a photo. It's like a little cartoon drawing, and it showed astronauts getting out. They're on the moon or whatever planet. They're getting out of the rocket, and they're looking, and they're on the sand in the sand on the moon. We'll say if that's where there's a Viking longship. Like, fucking Vikings, seriously? Because we got everywhere first. But yeah, that made me laugh. Who was, oh God, what was the name of that Prime Minister, the Tory one? After Margaret Thatcher, I think he was an alien. I've not simples. Boris is Vicky Pollard. Don't tell me he dressed up as Vicky Pollard. Or is this a joke that somebody's done? Oh, is it? Oh God, I bet that's funny, isn't it? It does look like it'd be a good pass for Vicky Pollard, though. Yeah, but no, but what about the party? John Major, that was him. John Major. He was just, yeah, I think John Major was a reptilian. It's just the weirdest one. I couldn't think of his name, Mrs. Mercury. There was him, and then there was another one. I think he was going to go and be, it just made me laugh. I think he was either trying to be the leader of the Tory party, or he was the leader of the Tory party and wanted to be Prime Minister. And again, I can't think of his damn name, but I just remember that Boris is a twat. He is. He, Joan Collins, I think she'd always voted Conservative or something. And when they brought him up, they were saying that Joan Collins had like looked totally disgusted. She said, "I will never give my vote to somebody who looks like a fetus." He had a big head, and I just can't think of the guy's name. Oh, I know. Edwina Curry. Oh, and John. Oh, no. Wrong on many, 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 many levels. What's going on with Boris? He's a scruffy get. I swear, Frida, he's a scruffy get. It looks like him and a comb have never been happy bedfellows. William Hague, that was him, Simples, thank you. Yeah, well, that's who Joan Collins said she couldn't vote for him because he looked like a fetus. Bloody Edwina, she was another twat. Do you remember her daughter was doing like a chat show or something, wasn't she? Way back when. Oh, do you know what, guys? You're not going to believe this. Guess what's happened? My flaming heating. My heating has now knackered. It's gone off. I thought it was bloody cold. As my brother said to me, FML. When I asked, he said, "Fuck my life." Yeah, the heating. I can't believe it. It's worked okay since last Monday. So it's managed all of what? 9 days. He and his party had the cheek to say Jeremy Corbyn was scruffy. Well, he was. I think Jeremy Corbyn, he looked like somebody who, he just reminded me of someone who would get on the, you know, if you're getting the last bus home from town and he'd just get on and he'd just smell of piss. Sorry. I just couldn't be doing with him. Like I say, I've no time for any of them. I do like Anne-Marie Waters, but unfortunately, yeah, Wurzel Gummidge. Oh, I just thought, could you honestly imagine that turning up? You know, meeting heads of state. You know, going to international meetings and oh. It's, well, simple. It's had a pump. It had a new pump put in it last year, and it's just knackered. It's absolutely knackered. The pressure is just going through the roof in it, and then it's knocking all the radiators off. Better than bastard Boris. I don't like Boris either. I just don't like any of them, Mrs. Mercury. I was watching that Keir Starmer on the. I don't like the look of him. He looks like shady. I don't like Sajid Javid. I just don't like none of them. I think, to be honest, I think they should all be put on a bloody spaceship and rocketed off onto the nearest inhospitable planet. Just leave us to get on with it ourselves. Not the best time of year for the boys back. This has been ongoing, this green eyes, for Well, it started in November and it got a temporary fix, and then it went again at the beginning of December and it got a temporary fix, and then it went again, if you remember, just before Christmas, and it got another temporary fix, and it lasted it was the day before Christmas Eve, and I was like, brilliant. And I got that night and then Christmas Eve, so Porky and I were nice and warm, and then it stopped working on Christmas Day. And it hasn't worked from Christmas Day up to last Monday. So it got a month. And it's now worked for 9 days, and now it's stopped. Won't say what my husband wants to do to politicians. Boil him in oil, tar and feather him. Can't believe Boris does looking like he does. Someone needs to pull him together. I know. He's just so scruffy. There's no need for it, is there? So I'm just making myself a warm drink, if you can hear a rattling. It's just, he always looks to me really unkempt. His hair's a bloody mess. He's overweight and obviously doesn't try, considering he supposedly rides his push bike everywhere. But he's no stranger to a fish supper, is he? Involves a lamppost outside our house. I'll send you some heat from... Oh, please do. Please do. I'm guessing your husband did have him swinging from the lamppost, eh? I'm just going to try something with this heating. Give me 1 second and see if I can get it to flipping work. Ugh. Do you know what, Simples? If you turned up looking like that for an interview, you wouldn't get the damn interview, would you? You'd just be like, sorry, feeding the homeless is out on the street. Go down the road, there's a soup kitchen. Scruffy get. But it's like, you find this, not all of them, because, you know, there are some people who go to public schools and what have you know, who are very well dressed, but he always strikes me as like one of these who, you know, sometimes you get the very, very wealthy, you know, old money type of people who they really don't care what anybody thinks of them, and they kind of don't conform because they're just, you know, they're better than everybody. And he strikes me as that. He's gone to a public school and he's got his family have a lot of money, and they can trace themselves back to God knows when, and he just doesn't feel that he has to conform or make any form of an effort. You know, because as much as I didn't like him either, at least David Cameron was well dressed. You know, he knew how to drag a comb through his head, didn't he? Yeah, that's it, Simples, exactly. Have you not got a comb? I kid you not, right? If he was my fella, ugh, God, no. Ugh. But if, you know, he's got a wife, hasn't he? What's she thinking of, letting him go out the house looking like that? Frida, I don't like any of them too. They're all a dead loss. And even if Boris is outed, another one will take his place. Also, I never feel sorry for politicians losing their jobs. They're usually loaded. Yeah, they are. And they all feather their own nests. When I saw those God, look at this. Come on, talking about Boudica, and now we're talking about politicians. But when I saw the expenses reports coming through, and I was absolutely disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. Oh, yeah, I fully agree with that, Mrs. Mercury. He's got kids all over the place. I don't think he knows how many kids he's got, does he? Oh, can you imagine? Oh, God, no. Not like some poor working class person's losing the job. No, it's not. Oh, my God, don't get me started on that. What, on the expenses or the need for sterilisation? I mean, what peed me off was there was a certain politician being very vocal about Boris done this, Boris done that. And I'm thinking, and you're a shady bloody mare as well, because you were taking flipping payments out of the the public purse for things you shouldn't have been. I'm pretty sure I heard you say half an hour ago, I'm not talking about politics. I'm pretty sure I heard you saying about an hour ago that you were here, but you weren't here. Well, it's not politics. We're ribbing politicians. Did you also hear me say that the flipping heating's packed in again? It's now stopped working completely. I am freezing. Oh, both. Oh, no. Won't say publicly. No, no. Anyway, back to aliens. Now we've ripped through the political parties. Like the fact, yeah, I think. Well, I'm going to go to bed. The thing is, by the time I've lit the fire, lit. By the time I've lit the fire and it's taken hold, I'll be ready to go to bed. So I'll just freeze for a little while. Oh, we haven't talked about food. Guess what? ER Green Eyes. I bet you can't believe. See, Pork Chop can tell you what I had for my lunch yesterday in Scotland, and I sent him a photograph of it. I'll let you have a guess. And I'll also let you in on what his reply was when I sent him the photograph. He just put Minga. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you're right there, Simples. Why do I dislike Richard Branson? Do you know one of these people that just irritate you? He just irritates me. But he was another one trying to, when he was talking about the, because he wasn't paying his taxes, was he? Branson. You're very near Simples saying haggis. It did involve haggis. Made stuffed steak in the slow cooker last night. It was delish. Oh, what did you stuff it with, Frida? I think Green Eyes is probably on a big mega lag. Oh no, probably not. Oh, hi, Captain. How are you? Hello. Simples, shaggis. No. Oh, Captain, I saw, because I've not been around for a few days, but I saw that you've been doing the Ted Bundy thing, so I'm going to have a listen to that. Well, I think there was some offal in it. I think he's probably gone back to playing his game then. I shall tell you what it was. So I sent a photograph. Yeah, I realised that, Captain. And I thought, oh, that should be really interesting. Especially when I'm not reading them myself. So yeah, if anybody didn't know, because I think you've all subbed, haven't you, to Captain? Yeah, he's got the read through on there on Ted Bundy. It's in quite a few. It's in about 10 parts or 12 parts, something like that, Captain. No, sweetbreads. Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't eat bollocks. All right, he's been putting them up in pieces. Sheep's brains. No, it actually was haggis. However, it wasn't just any haggis. It was haggis pie on a butty, which was delicious. So I took a photograph of it and I sent it over to Porky and I just put haggis pie butty, classy. And he came back to me and he just put minger. What have I got here? Make my own stuffing, breadcrumbs, herbs, onion, and chopped up bacon. Roll it like a wrap, fasten it with cocktails. Oh, is that right, Captain? Ah, so they can't get you for copyright if you break it up. Is there a limit on how long each segment has to be, or just so long as it's just not all in one? Yeah, simple. I said that. I said that it kind of haggis. It involved haggis, but yeah, it was haggis butty. I've got a massive joint of beef here that I said I will do as beef Wellington, but it's such a pain to get it, and you've got to make the cell with the mushrooms, and it takes ages, doesn't it? I don't know, but reading up the book, I haven't even been getting a claim. Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's all right then. Just know people are too easy to they're too easy to like bloody finger starts reporting you, aren't they? Saw that pop up today. Oh, what, the Captain's Ted Bundy stuff simples? Making port loin and kraut for dinner. Port loin. My auntie does she does this beautiful port loin dish, and she cooks it in, I've got to get this right now. She cooks it in cider, and then she does roast potatoes with it, but she the honey roasted potatoes, so she dips them in honey. Oh God, they're amazing. But yeah, the port loin, like I said, she cooks that in cider, and it's, oh God, it's lovely. I suppose it's a bit like the beer butt chicken, isn't it? Well, similar, maybe not quite. I'm feeling hungry now. Had a Chinese last night, which was very welcomed. So, oh, hang on a minute. Just got braised steak from Tesco. Battered it out flat, was really tender. Any cheap cut. Oh, hang on, it's gone up. Any cheap cut of steak will do. 6 hours on low in a slow cooker, very tender. Oh, it does sound very nice. Going to be doing a new series on my channel called Cooking with Cap. Oh, are you? Making all kinds of food. Oh. Oh, well, when that it's going to be on this same channel then, is it, Captain? Because you'll have to give us a shout when you upload them. Come in and then drop some links for us all, because we do like our cooking on this channel, along with a lot of other things. Oh, hi, Mirror Man. Hello. Did she just say she wanted Porky's loin inside? No, I didn't. Pork loin in cider, yes. Oh dear me. Can't say nothing. You missed our battle story, Mirror Man. I went through the Boudica's final battle. So I have to, Porky said I've got to give him a private read through, or a private reading. Who's filled me? You know it. Well, I don't know if you guys just saw then, Captain Spaulding is going to start doing some cooking stuff on his channel. I expect it'll be man-type cooking. Something for the weekend, sir. Sure, I must have missed something. I mean, will you be doing kind of I don't know, because you guys over there though, you cook things on barbecues a lot, don't you, and in smokers and whatnot. Yeah, you can make any stuffing you like. Also put oxo cube in, hundred water and pesto and a couple of bay leaves. Oh, right. Meat and potatoes kind of person. Just what we like. You can't beat a good bit of well-cooked meat. I saw one of my friends on Twitter is in Texas, and he just cooks on his grill, but what I call a barbecue. Cooks on his barbecue all the time. Doesn't matter what kind of weather it is. And he showed me he'd been wherever to buy this steak. It was for, it was a couple of years ago this now. It was, I can't remember if it was for Labour Day or 4th of June, one of those. It's one of your holidays. And he bought this steak. I have never seen anything like it. It looked like an entire cow's arse. It was absolutely gigantic. I was saying, there's no way you're going to eat all that. It's like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Said I'll just keep at it all through the day until it's gone. It was absolutely gigantic. We cook everything on the barbecue. Just use the oven for baking. Oh, I would love it. Anabolic ice cream. What the heck is that, Simples? Also chopped up onion. I put it in the liquid. Here ended the cooking lesson. So that's why I'm celibate. I'm vegetarian, so don't eat meat. Have you always been veggie, Mrs. Mercury? They have steaks that are like 120 ounce in Texas, massive steaks. Do you know what? It was probably something like that, Captain. It was Jack. I mean, I think I don't know if you were in here or not. There's a place that Pork Chop and I like to go for dinner, and he always gets this, and it's a 30. I think it's 32 ounce. Is it? It's a huge plate, and I think it's it's 32, I think, ounce steak. I think it's a rump steak, cooked how you like, and it comes with a full baked camembert to dip your steak into, and then it comes with a load of stuffed potato skins. There's tons of them, loads and loads of chips, loads of onion rings. Comes with your dipping sauces. I've probably left something off. I don't know if it comes with mushrooms or what have you. If he comes back, he might say, but he really likes that. And he's not quite managed to eat the whole thing yet, but he's come pretty close. Tomahawk steaks here, they're huge. Ah, well, Green Eyes, my butcher, my butcher he owns the farm up the top, and they do from grass to plate. And he was doing tomahawk steaks a while ago. I was like, should I? Massive though, aren't they? There's not that much of a call round here for. I mean, I know that if I wanted a couple, it would do them for me. But I think for general sale, they probably wouldn't sell that well round here unless somebody was maybe doing them for a special meal or a do or something. 120 ounces, about 3,400 grams. Bloody hell. Simple protein powder, ice cubes, vanilla, Greek yogurt, xanthan gum in a fast blender. Fantastic. Oh, really? Oh, I really want a steak now. Oh, so you've only been a veggie for about 4 or 5 years. You stick peanut butter in it. Stick peanut butter up your arse. I hate that stuff. That should be banned along with celery. Filling as feck. Hey, I'll tell you what else I was thinking of doing. You know, I like so I'm just gonna go slightly away from the food just for a second. You know, when I do my history things, I do like doing battles. And I don't know what any of you think. I mean, some of you have probably seen the film, which will give you a bit of an idea on it. But I've always been fascinated with the 300 Spartans, and I wondered about doing a live on that sometime. You know how they managed to hold off the Persian forces. I always get fascinated with placements and battle strategies, and that's why I enjoyed doing that earlier about Boudica's final battle, and when we were talking about the Vikings and went through their different battlefields. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but yeah, I really, really like the story of the 300 Spartans. Football team further north of me, Blythe Spartans. Ah, are they any good, Simples? Maybe they picked the name thinking nobody'd get past them. Because there's a lot of those. No idea. Sounds good. We may need the training for when the aliens invade. Yeah. They're oh, what was I going to say then? Oh, I've just had a bit of a brain fart. Oh, for instance, yeah, the Spartans. Yeah, but because there's like the Spartans, then there was Troy as well, the fall of Troy. Because I like Greek history and um I like Greek myths and mythology as well. But the Greek history, certain aspects of it, the Hellenic Wars and things like that. So um yeah, just something a bit different, something from a different area um on the planet. I could invent anabolic alien ice cream. I bet they would like it. Do you know what? I bet even if it wasn't aliens, I bet someone would buy it. The thing is, these days, if you put a fancy name on something, there's always going to be somebody who will buy it. And it could be any old shit, couldn't it? I'm going to have to leave. You've got a physio appointment. Thank you for a lovely evening. Oh, Green Eyes, take it. I hope your hip's all right, chick. And your back, obviously, but your hip especially. You take care. And I will see you very, very soon. Just let me know. Drop me a message and let me know how you're getting on, love. All right. And thank you for being here. Oh. Oh, Simples, whenever you said greenie, I well, you know what I'm thinking, don't you? I start gipping. We can't call her greenie. Hey, has anybody seen Lady Witch around? I've not seen her for a while. I was thinking about her the other day. I know, Simples, that's minging. Absolutely minging. No, green is yak. Yeah, but the next one I'm going to do, I'll get the Ninth Legion, which I should have attached to this one. So and that's like a bit of a mystery as well. It's more mystery than anything. There's only a tiny bit of history, that one, but it's more mystery, as because I thought just open that for a little discussion, what people, given the background, what people think happened to them. But I might do that over the weekend, actually. And then it's trying to think which order I do things in. And then we've got next week. I do need to do my Northeast, the Vikings. I've still got episode 6 to do with that yet, which is the Northeast. I'm jumping around all over the place. Want to do that. I want to do that Rendlesham Forest. Oh, I forgot to say my son went axe throwing last weekend. It was a birthday present from his wife, I think. Really? I tell you what, though, it's hard. I had a go at that in Norway. And some of these guys, they can throw them with such precision. You know, you see knife throwers and they can, you know, they'll launch a knife and they get it, you know, within a millimetre. Oh, brilliant. Got photos. Yeah, it was, I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't, you know, I just had to go. It wasn't something that I'd wanted to do. It was just like, you know, have a go, have a go, have a go while you're here, have a go, see how shit you are. But yeah, but it's only when you chuck something like that and it hits the target, you realise how much bloody damage those things would do. But, you know, they're going to do the most damage if you throw them. But if you throw them, then you've got no weapon left, have you? Mrs. Makes as simple as my daughter had a go at that and loved it. Do you know where she did it, Mrs. Mercury? Oh, were you? Hang on. Then he did a 10K run on the Sunday, and he said he thought he looked like Shaun of the Dead extra. Glad we don't live in ancient times. Well, I know. Although we could get away with a lot more, couldn't we, Mrs. Mercury? Frida. Kitchen chat. Going to head into bed now. Busy day tomorrow. Looking forward, kiss to your future lives. Night, night, all. Thank you, Frida. Thank you. And thanks for being so kind on Sunday. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good night's sleep and I'll catch up with you soon. I can't remember. I'll ask her tomorrow. Simple as there is this pic and he is right. Oh, is he? Looking a bit rough. Yeah, it's was it, did he say, was it his birthday? Oh yeah, I just had to go back then. See if he said it was his birthday. They do them, well, they do the axe competitions at the Jorvik Festival, but it's not on in February this year. Is it? They've knocked it back. God, now, is it May or June, I think? I don't know if anybody goes to Jorvik. I honestly cannot, I can't think when it is now. I know I just had a shock because normally it's in February for, you know, when the half term's on. Oh, thanks, Simples. Yeah, I'd be interested. But yeah, when you go to the Jorvik Festival, they do similar things there as well. You know, you can have an axe throwing competition and you can have a sword wielding competition and things like that. And you see a lot of the kids really want to have a go at the at the axe throwing. I'm going to now. Beelzebub's babies will be having me up at the crack of dawn. Good night. Oh, good night, Mrs. Mercury. Well, I was going to say I was going to draw this one to a close shortly anyway, because I'm still really tired. Surprising, is it, when you do a bit of traveling? It's like when you're in a car, you might drive out. Like I was wiped out on Saturday, when we got back from, you know, going around Todmorden and, you know, we hadn't really, well, we didn't really walk that far. It was just me driving round and I was so tired. I know I ended up coming on Ended up coming on here for a couple of hours, but yeah, I was absolutely knackered. So yeah, I think I need to catch up on a bit of beauty, well, a lot of beauty sleep, to be honest. Oh, excuse me. Oh, look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. Oh dear. Right. Well, if I like I said, I don't know about tomorrow. It might be Friday, and I will. Excuse me. I'll come back on. I got told as well. See if back. Oh, is she on? I've had no notifications again. Oh, for God's sake, what is going on with this bag of shit? I got really hacked off with that. Yeah, I was going to say I got told that there's my class are having a reunion. I learned about this through a circuitous route. All right, okay. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to end up if I've got a school reunion or class reunion this weekend as well, but I don't know whether I can be asked going or not. I only found out about it today, and that's because somebody had given me, well, they'd sent a message via my sister because I don't use Facebook. So apparently they've been organising this flipping reunion for ages, and then somebody was trying to get hold of me at my own old address, and someone was trying to ring me on my old phone number. So I think that's on, well, it is on Saturday, but I don't know whether I can be asked going or not. Bit short notice for me, anyway. Okie dokie. Right, well, in that case then, nanite simples, and I think the only other two are probably Mirrorman and Pork Chop. So I will say good night and wind it up, and thank you all for being here. So, as always, for whoever's listening, once again, yes, Simples. Thanks, sweetheart. Sorry to duck out, but yeah, I'm flagging a little bit. Take care, lovey. Night. Right, for anybody else who's still here, I shall do my usual close down, and I'll see you all on the bright side.